Alright guys, so welcome to another video that we're going to share with you regarding Singapore properties and what is actually happening throughout the entire 2025 and 2026. So you want to continue watching this. Alright, so for today, what we are really going to cover is kind of what is happening in the recent GLS tenders and what this actually means to us as homeowners and consumers, right? What is the practical terms for upgraders, for buyers like yourself? And most importantly, where are the opportunities that we may open up? Or perhaps it could also risk you in this situation. So this is where we want to cover. And if you have not read the news, you will have known that there are actually three GLS sites that just released, which is Tanjong Rhu, we have Dairy Farm, as well as Dover Drive. So that's why today I want to just do this video to kind of let you know with this pipeline in mind, and together with all the 2026 GLS land plots that will be already been bidded, you know, what is the situation for us as homeowners? And if today this is your first time joining us and you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so, because it will actually help us a lot, and we will kind of know that which kind of videos are that you are interested in, that we can maybe put more emphasis on it and create more such educational content for you as well. So let's get back to the GLS site. All right, so one, of course, if you're asking me, there is quite a fair bit of information regarding this three sites, and they are actually very exciting. And I'm going to dive deeper into the details of what sites are there and what kind of properties is it going to be comprises of. And at the same time, don't forget that for the whole year of 2026, right, we're going to have quite a few. I wouldn't say quite a few, actually. Majority of the launches are also going to be happening in 2026. So in one glance, what we have done is we have compiled the whole list of new launches that's going to be released in 2026 for your viewing pleasure. Okay, so how you can claim this with the details that we have done in terms of pricing, what is the estimated price launch, all this information we have actually compiled into a PDF. And if you want this information, you can actually scan the QR code and get in touch with us so that we can actually share with you a little bit more of how we help clients to actually disqualify 90% of the launches during new launch seasons. All right, for the past 2 years, I'm sure you have went through multiple batches of launches that were launched. All right, we're talking about EOK period, we're talking about Alta and the recent Sky at Holland, and also the Prominent Peak and River Green. So they are launched in clusters. But the question is, are all the projects out there suitable for you? So in our private consults that with our clients, we actually eliminate 90% of launches that are not even suitable for our clients, to prevent you from jumping into FOMO, all the hype and all the chasing for new launches. All right, so you can actually scan the QR code and kind of get a second opinion where you should be heading to into 2026. All right, so the key thing is that why the land matters, right? Why the land sales matters. So a lot of times we were talking about GLS and en bloc, right? So en bloc fever has actually came down quite a fair bit, and I think recently the news are kind of going to ramp up a little bit of the en bloc. So I definitely will be doing another video regarding this en bloc situations. And if you want to follow and get the latest update that every week we kind of churn out the videos, right, you can just subscribe and like the video so that we can actually keep you in touch. So the key thing about developers bid, right, you must understand that the developer will bid a land price. Okay, the developer will bid a land price, and that land price potentially, after adding on all the costs and all the expenses, will become our future per square foot that they are selling. So why is this important to you and me? Is because today we want to have certain benchmarking of prices. And how far away are we from the previous launch in terms of pricing? And this will give us a signal regarding future supply. Is the future supply still coming into the marketplace? That will allow us to understand supply and demand situation for the next 3 to 5 years. And the second thing that you will get out from GLS is the price expectations. So today, if let's say you already know the prices that the developer has bid for, it does give you some benchmarking of prices, like in the future of 1 or 1.5 years, how much the prices are going to be sold for. All right. And GLS is also an indication to let you know where the growth areas are. Okay, so this is something that in our private consult, we always look into where are the growth areas. Today, if you want to just blindly buy a property, nothing to worry about. But if you really want to strategically optimize your time with property, right, then you need to kind of know where the direction is, where the compass is showing you, and we want to walk that path. All right, so in a nutshell, right, GLS is kind of like a seed, okay, a plant seed, right? The launch price is like the tree, okay? And if the seed is expensive when you purchase it in the first place, then of course the fruit that it came out will not be cheap as well. All right, so this is, I think, a very simple analogy for us to understand. And that's why we always study the tree, we always study the seed, we also study the fruit to make sure that every of the components are aligned to decide whether are we actually overpaying for a certain property. And also at the same time, when you're seeing where government releases land, right, there is also an indicator to tell you where are the new infrastructures as well as the housing are going to be next. All right, so just a quick, giving you a quick overview about GLS, what does it mean? So to jump into the 3 sites that are putting up for tender, right, these are the summary that you can go through. All right, so the key thing is that the numbers are just there as a guide. All right, so these are like Tanjong Rhu, they are going to do up at least 525 units at average estimate for the land price at about $1,300 to $1,400 per square foot per PPR. Take note, this is not per square foot, this is per square foot per PPR, meaning the plot of land. And of course, Tanjong Rhu, if you are not familiar with it, is actually in the furthest of the east side, where you're very near to central area, and that area has been seeing quite a lot of movement. And later on, we will cover a little bit on why are some of all these places being considered. Okay, I think this will be very useful for us. And at the same time, we also want to study the trends based on previous launches or previous tenders, how the developers are strategizing in terms of their purchase of land. All right. So dairy farm, I think for the last 3 to 4 years, we have been getting plot of lands released one after another every other year. And the latest one will be coming out with 480 units, and average per square foot per PPR should be hovering about $1,000 to $1,001 per square foot, as well as the very rare Dover Drive, okay, about 635 units, 1,003 to 1,004 per square foot. All right, so out of these 3, you can see that they are generally not the, we call it the mega projects with 1,000 over units, with 1,002 or even 900 over units, right? So they are practically on the mid-size, which is very easy for consumers to actually accept. You are not too small, where you are worried about transaction volumes and no facilities, and you're not like mega big that you're worried about in terms of traveling, in terms of seeing everybody using the facilities. So a mid-size from 400 over to 600 over is always a very comfortable purchase in terms of size. So let me just give you a structure, right, so that it can help you to kind of look at the numbers, and immediately you'll be able to determine roughly estimated how much the land cost after all the construction costs, all the expenses, how much would it roughly launch. So you can take this number, right, okay, and you just do an estimate about ×2, okay, just a ×2. So there are cases where we have land bids where they went on to 2.3 or even 2.5%. All right, so what you can do, you can just easily, when they launch the GLS land sites, when the developer has bidded and you kind of know the figure, you just multiply by ×2. That should be the selling price, including all the expenses, all the construction costs, and all the, you know, government fees that they need to pay. All right, so this is just a quick way, but of course, don't use this as a like kind of like a fixed rule. Okay, again, like I say, when we are looking at numbers, we want to be as accurate as possible. We cannot say this one is this kind of amount. And that's why whenever we are starting for projects like this, we will definitely be very careful in terms of calculating how much the land cost versus all the construction costs, estimated launch price is going to be. And so far, after our so many years of experience in the market, we are not very far off with most of our projections. Okay, so this is something that you need to also take note of. All right, so of course, if you look at it, let me just share with you the upside of what has happened in the recent months, right, where the bids, right, by the developers are very bullish, if you ask me. Like for example, Cindior plays 1,432 per square foot, and if you already know just now from the formula that I provided to you, the average per square foot should hover about 2,000 $900 per square foot. Okay, it should be hovering about there. But of course, if you are Cindior and recent our Sky Holland and all these other projects has been doing so well, will you be launching at $2,009 per square foot for this property? Okay, and one of the key things is that you must understand, not just about the land and the price. Okay, sometimes the developer's appetite, the developer's track record, as well as their inventory, right, plays a huge part in how they are going to navigate for their pipeline in their business. All right. So always remember, developers are also purchasing land, and if there are limited land available for them to purchase, will they want to pay more for that land so that they can continue their business, since their business is in property and construction also, right? So if you can see here, right, Cindior actually bid 22% higher, okay, than the second contender, 22%. So there are mixed feelings, right? Some people say that they got a good price. Some people say that they overpay, because you will never know how much other people bid. So the question I want to ask every one of you here, right? Did they, the rest of them, right, did they downplay this purchase? That means after they have done their work, their research, their valuation based on their entire team of experts, right? Did Cindior overpay because the rest of them did not even come close to the pricing? So this is also an indicator to share with you, like, for Cindior, most of their projects are already sold. All right, they have no more land bank, and that is also one of the reasons why they aggressively bidded for some of the more prime locations, so that they can secure their property without any competition. And this clearly highlights that they actually bidded 22% higher. And so the question for the rest, SL Capital, Kingsford, did they undermine the value of the land, and that's why Cindior got it? So these are all the things that we always look at whenever there's any GLS launch site. So if you look at it moving forward, right, we also have the Tanjong Rhu. And why am I sharing with you this? Is because for the recent years, right, we have not been seeing a lot of bidders for each plot of land for the last 2 to 3 years. I believe one of the key reasons is also due to the recovery of COVID, and all the businesses are kind of like just starting back on track, right? And that's why the last couple of years, a lot of the land bids, there are only maybe maximum 3 bidders, okay, if you have been following. But the recent ones, if you have noticed, they have a lot more companies, a lot more developers are coming in to bid for the land. On one side, it could be because the land are more interesting, or they have finally sold off most of their properties, and the funds came in that they can redeploy those money for redevelopment, right? So that's why sometimes when we are looking at property, we don't just look at from a consumer perspective. You do need to look at what the developers are doing, as well as what the government is doing. And with this 3 alignment, right, you will be very careful to be able to kind of project how the next 3, 5, or even 8 years down the road is going to be for your property. So with this, right, you can see that for Tanjong Rhu, right, there were actually total 9 bidders, and with the top bid at 1,410. And this will also works out to maybe about $2,009 per square foot. So for Tanjong and Holland, we are definitely going to expect at least $3,000 and above, because this estimated per square foot is without profits. So how much profits are they going to put in? 20, 30, 40, 50%? That one, nobody knows, right? But at least this gives you a benchmark of what should be the expected break-even per square foot launch. And so if you can see for the Tanjong Rhu, right, CSC, of course, they won the bid, and CDL come in very closely, about $50 per square foot lesser. And then Cindior again was very aggressive, went up to the 3rd place. So these are all indications to also tell us that today, always remember there is always a high correlation between buyers and developers. Okay, why? Because today, as a homeowner ourselves, we also need to borrow from the bank to purchase a property. The same goes for developers, because no matter how big a developer they are, they will still want to borrow against the bank, right? So that they can actually use it to finance their cash flow. So let me ask you, for the last 1 year plus, have we been enjoying lower interest rates? Right? And have you also, because of the lower interest rates, starts to think about, hey, maybe I should be looking into property? So this is the exact familiarity, right, that even developers are also facing the same thing. Because when the climate becomes better, a little bit more bullish, everything is more stable, and with interest rate at a lower percentage, the developers' borrowing ability also increases. Does it make sense, my friend? All right, so this is also why if we are seeing a high increase in terms of development being bidded, it's also showing that the confidence of the developer are there, and they are also taking advantage of the low interest rates. So the question to you as a consumer is whether you're buying for own sale or for investments, right? Are you catching this period of time as an advantage for yourself to go into the market instead of chasing the market? How about you start deciding on what you want to do regarding property? All right, so that's why we are seeing that for Dunyan, right, they're getting such a very high bids. And even for the Dorset Road, this one is also very interesting. All right, Dorset Road's UOL actually, I mean, if you can see, it's a little bit blurred, but UOL actually bidded about 1,300 plus. So they're very close to the second bidder, right? But all in all, you can see both developments had a very comfortable bids from the developers. So the question is, if let's say today there are 9, I mean, just using this as an example, right? There are 18, but there can only be 2 winners. Then what about the other 16? Will they also look at other land plots when government land sales came in? Will they also aggressively go and bid because they lost out in achieving the land that they wanted? All right, so these are all what we call about business, right? And most importantly is, I think one of the bigger questions that we all have is, with the government actually having the intention to perhaps do some adjustments for en bloc approvals, right? That also signals that the wave is changing, that you may need to kind of prepare yourself a little bit further. Why do we say so? Because GLS land sites are generally always lower than en bloc. All right, because there's a lot of acquisition costs for en bloc to happen. And even though the government may relax this, which means developers will want to come into the game for en bloc season, right? The prices may not necessarily be lower than the GLS land sites. On the other hand, I also was looking at this when all these reports come in, is why is the government trying to look at this? Well, I mean, look at what we have enjoyed for the last couple of years when there is a massive, okay, I'm talking about massive government land sale size. The government are also limiting and controlling how many land sites they can release on a yearly basis. Well, ultimately, Singapore is very small. Okay, we have land scarce situation. So it's almost impossible that we can keep this up in terms of releasing land. But on the other hand, do you realize that there are a lot more older properties in different clusters in Singapore? So with Singapore not able to release all these properties, right? The only way that we can rejuvenate and revitalize those areas, those projects, is by en blocking. And so that's why by relaxing these rules, it may actually encourage more developers to go into the en bloc game. And I believe there will be more changes and adjustments in order to keep on pace instead of developers just relying on GLS land sites. All right, so what does this mean? This means that with the land scare environment in Singapore, you can't help but getting our land prices higher and higher, which means our purchasing power also increases. Right? There's only one way up, no way down, because our land is limited in Singapore. So no matter how the government actually plays different ways by releasing this, reducing the supply, or even increasing the supply, there's only a certain limitations that we can actually move around. So this is something very important for you as a consumer. Right? Okay, so if you can look at it right now, why am I sharing with you this? Because the increase in bids, right, actually highlights that actually a lot more people are going for some of all these bids, the developers. And these are what we have done in terms of our tracking, right? That right now, based on the numbers, it is a very healthy number where developers start to realize, or I would say start to realize, but they may have more firepower. A lot more consortiums are being made. That means there are more money flowing around where they need to deploy into the marketplace, right? And when they deploy into the marketplace, it will also gradually move the Singapore economy upwards, because that's the only way to fuel Singapore economy, right? The question is, we want to ask ourselves is, the land price that was sold, right? That why we are going in so much of this is because it will always determine the future selling price. And once you are able to do your homework, like for us, we do it every other day, right? that we are able to track what happens 3 years ago, what happens 5 years ago that will relate to now. So whatever that's happening that I'm going to share with you based on the 3 land sites, right? You can actually use that as a exercise and your homework, right? That in the next 1 year, you will see it happen. And how far the launch is going to be in the next 2 years. That will be the numbers that you cannot run away from, because the land bid already been developed. The developer already purchased the land at a certain fixed price, and that's how we are able to come out the various numbers that we provided your during our consults. Okay, like for example, even Cindior previously in March, this is the early of this year, they actually everybody was eyeing for this Bayshore, so it also triggered me like, did I make a mistake of selling my one of the unit in Bayshore area? But well, it is what it is, and there's a logical decision why we make that move. Okay, even though we already know the MRT, all these are coming out. But the Bayshore plot, I believe this is going to be very interesting. Although Cindior during that time make a big hoo-ha because they bidded $1,400 per square foot, which during then is like the record high. And for Bayshore, being an OCR property, if they are able to bid this land at 1,300, which means they easily have to sell at 2007 to 2008. Isn't this very similar to Sky Holland prices that we have seen just now based on the latest land bid, right? But of course, this Cindior, I mean, they have been known to be quite outrageous sometimes in their bidding and how they construct their business. So let's see how this will pan out. And I think this will be one of the biggest talk of the town based on pricing, and based on the land plot is actually rather big. So I think there's a lot of potentials that Cindior can do something about it. And not forgetting also the recent news in July, you can see, okay, they also bidded about 1,003. So there will always be this fourth runner, right? Meaning if the certain price of a land has been bidded at a location, subsequent prices of land will follow that last price, because it's quite almost impossible for the price to reverse their way. Then everybody will be kind of priced out in that sense. So Chuan Grove also attracted about 7 bids, about 1,300. So it works out to about maybe 2,006, 2,007 per square foot. And this is the second plot. If you have known the Chuan Park area, right, they had a very good sales process. Of course, there's a lot of hoo-ha also during that launch period of how their strategy is. But why am I sharing with you this is because we have been seeing the entire 2025 very strong developer interest in the land that is supplied by the government. And do take note, the land plots that were released are actually not bad. You know, they are not like in lousy locations. They are generally very much catered for residential living, meaning you are near amenities, you are near transportations, which is a very hot flavor for every one of us when we are buying property. And that's also a reason they are very careful in releasing some of all these land plots. And they are always priced much higher because of the convenience, because of the amenities that you get nearby. And you're not going into a dead town where there's nothing. All right, you're already going into a kind of semi-matured places where it's convenient, and with all the cross-island line and all the MRT, basically the value of the property and the land has increased multiple folds over the last 10 years, definitely. All right, so if we look at in detail, right, for Tanjong Rhu site, of course, they were closed in February during the Chinese New Year period, right? I think for the, this is a dairy farm actually. All right, so this is dairy farm. And one of the key things that you must understand is that today, if let's say we're looking at the dairy farm area, okay, one of the important part is that we must understand what is happening for dairy farm. So over the couple of years, we do have some of the sites that were already been released, you know, in terms of the land. All right, let me just show you this. All right, so multiple plots in the dairy farm area was already released previously. So we have like areas where the properties we are talking about like dairy farm residences. But one thing you must take note that does it always equate that when a land price is being bidded higher pricing, surrounding properties will also climb the same wave? It may not be. All right, so that's why there's a lot of different context that you need to understand. So for dairy farm, they are going to inject at least 480 units, all right, and this will be the fourth parcel, all right, and with the Nara residences coming up, all right, this is the fourth parcel, and where this location is, you are also very nearer to dairy farm area. But do take note, because this will be on the dairy farm side, right? Okay, these are dairy farm side. This side of it, which is the Hillview side, are also getting a lot of traction for the past couple of years, like here, like in the Hillview area. And a lot of people, they are always saying that, hey, Hillview is kind of better because it's nearer to the MRT. But there's only so much of land available in the area, right? So this property at the moment, we are expecting it to maybe launch about 1,000 to maybe even 1,001, okay, per square foot. So we will have to see in February how many developers bid for this and what will happen. Okay, so one of the key things that you must also understand is that today, based on the land location, the surrounding plots of land do have some impact on how developers are bidding when they are tendering for it. All right, they will use that as a benchmark to see what is the future 5, 10, or even 15 years projections going to be. And as for Tanjong Rhu, right, let me just draw your attention for Tanjong Rhu. So the key thing is that Arena East, right, is very near. All right, it's also in Tanjong Rhu area. And one key thing is that when Arena East, they sold about 10 units out of the 107 units, right? And at an average price of 3,000 per square foot, everybody was saying, oh, Tanjong Rhu cannot purchase, the prices are too overpriced. Okay, because why? This has been a freehold property, all right, and there are 107 units. So this is something that you need to take note of. We also need to kind of use as the younger properties and resale to do some comparison so that it kind of give you a better understanding of whether the pricing that the developers are bidding, is it ideal or not, right? So one thing for Tanjong Rhu new plot, right? Just understand that because of the nearing to Kallang, to the Kallang master plan, there's a new master plan coming out, and this potentially, if you ask me, the last site that was launched was like in Water Place, that is big enough lah. We don't want to talk about the smaller ones, but the big ones, Water Place was in 1997. So for the last 30 years, there's not much new big plot of land happening in Tanjong Rhu. So this is something I believe will be also very interesting to kind of take note. And one thing to take note that for the pricing, right, like for example, this is Arena East, right? Arena East pricing based on their average is already crossing close to $3,000 per square foot on average. So what we are seeing that in Tanjong Rhu area, of course, we're not discounting Arena East is not a good purchase, but in general, a lot of the older Tanjong Rhu area units are with bigger floor plates. Okay, they are older, which means in terms of facilities, in terms of upkeeping, it definitely downplays it. And with this new plot of Tanjong Rhu coming in, I believe this will be the first mover advantage to revitalize the entire Kallang master plan area. And there must be always an injection of new properties into a up and coming location. And I believe Kallang Basin, Kallang area, right, will be damn exciting. And I'm really looking forward to see how it will transform. And I myself am already aiming like, okay, in how many years down the road, I will definitely be getting a unit there, no matter what the price. I cannot say no matter what the price are, but if the price is reasonable enough, I will definitely want to acquire one unit there. Okay, so this is why it always excites me whenever I study urban planning. I know what's going to happen, and that's how our clients tap on our resources to kind of guide them through for the next 5 to 10 years. And if this is somebody that you want us to also be involved in your property journey, it's not a destination, it's definitely a journey, then you can also reach out to us by just commenting below so that we can kind of help you and give you a kind of a magic crystal ball into the future to help you plan better of your property. Also, the Tanjong Rhu, also another key thing of an indicator is whenever there's like prime flats, you are talking about $1 million HDBs in that location, right? This is also a telltale sign that the government will invest into this location for the new rejuvenation process. Okay, it's not going to be like just a one property type and then that's it. Okay, so for Tanjong Rhu, I'm super excited, and I believe with the BTOs going in with the prime flats and a new rejuvenation of Kallang, this plot will be highly sought after, and multiple developers. We're going to see a lot of combining of consortium, definitely, okay, into this property sale. So then, of course, the next one that you will see is the Dover. Okay, so Dover is definitely the gateway to One North, and this one is about 600 plus units. And from the plans that we read, there's going to be certain commercial element as well. So this is going to be like a mixed D configuration. And in the entire Dover area, this is like the only one GLS site. Okay, and when I was studying about the location, I also find that this is also going to be very interesting with the recent launches that we have in One North area. This will definitely be indication that the developers are very confident about One North, and for the next couple of years, I believe One North area will be shooting up in terms of convenience, in terms of the accessibility. And we are now in the kind of the heart of One North transformation. And for any owners who are out there, you definitely be reaping your rewards in the next 2 to 3 years from the purchase there. All right, and for this location, you can see that the entire site is actually very close by even to the MRT. It's basically maybe less than 10 minutes walk. Okay, I usually walk faster, so I can walk, I will go to the MRT nearer. And nearby, a lot of the projects have already been 100% sold. We're talking about Blossoms, we're talking about even Bloomsbury, we're talking about the Hill at One North, so there are multiple projects out there that is in limited stocks. So in a location where government have zoned it that it has to be part of our transformation plan, right? Which means more emphasis will go in terms of amenities, in terms of shops. And that One North area, you can see every project, they also have a few shops here and there. And when you combine it together, it is the convenience and amenities for you and your family to stay true. All right, regardless of it is a work, it's a what office area. That's why they're injecting more residential there, so that it become a work, live, and play kind of environment for everybody. All right, so this is something that I believe is very, very exciting to look into. All right, so also to let you know that the three bidding, you must understand when they are open up for tender, it could be not accepted. All right, because maybe the bid is too low, the government do not want to accept, or it could be overwhelming response where a lot of developers went in. But at the same time, not forgetting, because of now that you understand how GLS works, these are the launches that were already bidded, okay, since this year. And we have already seen the 3 launches, Zion Grand, Prominent Peak, as well as Penreef. That was actually when their land was awarded in 2024. Okay, and you can see how much per square foot per PPR and their average pricing. All right, so Zion Grand actually went more than 2 times, right? But then the recent 2025 launches, you can see all the land bids that were already been bidded. So these are the indicator for you, and if you can use a simple formula, that is how you are able to determine how much the average per square foot prices is. And this is also the reason why, if let's say for Penreef already in Queenstown area are already selling at $2,008 to $2,009 per square foot. If you compare to how Bayshore is going to be when they're launching, they were potentially also looking at almost, maybe not the same price, but maybe slightly different. So today, asking you, you will go for Bayshore or you will go for Penreef in terms of pricing. So this is also a way to benchmark us as consumers, as you as investors, to determine, is it that all new launches can buy? There's always this blanket statement, all launches you buy already, you should what? But if you want to what more with new launches, then there's a strategy behind for you to really look into the numbers and calculate it properly. It's not just about buying anything. So this is based on the OCR zone, right? You can see that these are all OCR prices, and you cannot run away from not accepting, because these prices has already been bidded. The developer has already confirmed this pricing. Now the question is whether the developers will be nicer to us by not having such a big profit margin. But that one, you and I, we have no control. What we can only control is if the prices that's been released, is it still worth for us to consider or not? Or could there be other options right now? See? So then if you look at RCR zone, you can see the RCR, we will have quite a fair bit. Okay, there's a few that has definitely been the top of the town. We're talking about River Modern, okay, and Dunyan as well as Holland, because these are the three that kind of recently all the land bits are around that area. So with this new structures for the new land bits, right, this also gives us an indication to highlight that today with the low interest rate environment and there's all this new GLS supply, will the developers be more confident in bidding higher prices moving forward? All right. And what I will see is that with the likely outcome is that because right now with interest rate lower, they have better affordability, they are able to kind of manage their cost better. Then as consumer like us, we also will not be so worried about money installments because it went up from 4, now it went up to about 1.5, 1.8%. There's a drastic savings. All right. So if you have not seen my interest rate video, you can actually check out somewhere in the channel. I've done a comparison with the numbers breakdown on how the interest rates up and down is going to affect you as a homeowner. So you can go and check out that video. Okay. Yeah. So look at this. Right now, 2026 will kind of have a certain sweet spot. Most of the launches that has already been purchased the last couple of years has already been launched and the price has already been set. And we are still getting a few of the first half of 2026 prices in terms of all these lands is going to come out, which is going to be another new season, in another new wave. All right. So one of the key thing that I always share, right, today, if you want to position yourself better in property, right, you need to do 3 things. Okay. You need to do 3 things. Number 1, you need to kind of understand which direction of the market you want to go into. And that has everything to do with where the growth areas are. So when we talk about growth areas, right, it has to do with transformation. It has to do with injection of new amenities into that location. Then we can classify that as a growth area. So you want to kind of direct that per se, if you are looking at purely optimizing your ability and your property journey. Then the second thing is that you need to run through is like your exit math. Okay. If today you're owning a property in this location, how far fetched will it be in the next 5 to 8 years when I want to exit? And you also have to decide how you are entering the property market. Are you a short-term investor? Are you looking at only just a 4 to 5 years and you want to exit? Or are you looking at a mid-term so that you let your property grow a little bit more into the value before you start to exit? Okay, so I think this is very important why today we disqualify 90% of launches so that you don't buy into hype and emotion or pressure. It's because we have seen too many. All right, and this YouTube channel itself, we have so many who purchase really, then they reach out to us and then they kind of like, should I give up? Should I not give up? And all this, why not you do it beforehand? So the 3 things that we usually do before you go into any new launch season, right, is really to help you map your next 3 moves. It's not about just buying, it's about how you buy and how you're going to sell next time to help you achieve the objective that you want. And because of everybody's financial timeline situation is very different, 90% of the properties out there actually cannot match you one. You cannot purchase those property. And what are the 10% criteria, strict criteria that we have that can help you to enjoy a very good night's sleep after you purchase? All right, so that's our criteria. And that's why you must always confirm your exit before you enter into the property market. All right, so if you find that these are the things that you kind of need help in, or maybe you've been chasing launches after launches and nobody is able to advise you properly, then what I will advise you to really kind of go into property with certainty, not guessing yourself. You can scan the QR code so that we can kind of get you prepared for 2026 launches to come in. All right, due to whatever reason, whether it's suitable for you or not, I believe you should plan early, be overly prepared so that you will not get hyped up and chasing launches after launches because your ballot number is no good, and then due to different pressures, you just anyhow buy property. Okay, this is something that I've been hearing it again and again, and that's the reason why I do videos like this to kind of warn you guys there are other alternative ways to look into property. It's not about one cookie cutter blanket statement. Everybody's situation is very different, so it's really our duty to kind of give you an alternative position before you make yourself a decision that you want to make for your own family. All right, so with that, you can also scan the QR code and seek a second opinion and see where we can do to help you. All right, so last but not least, if you have not kind of subscribed to the channel, you have not liked the video before, this is your first time, do us a favor, become one of our fans here. Every week when we are doing new videos of different topics, you'll be shared, notified, turn on the bell button so that every new videos, you know what is happening and keep yourself updated as a property owner. And also, if you find that there are some content, some information that you like us to prepare in advance for you, you can always type in the comment what are the topics that you generally like to hear from us, and we will do our very best to prepare for you. All right, with that, this is Coach Edmund signing off. I see you guys real soon. Cheers.